Continuing our series on answering my friend's questions is imminently starting beekeeping, as well as yours if you leave them in the comment section down below. Do I need to climate control my hive? Yes, you do. What do I do on a hot summer day? He's located in Texas, which is something he should be more concerned about than like I'm in Ohio. But when we get sustained temperatures over 90 degrees, I do go out and do some stuff to my colonies to keep them from burning up. The first thing that you need to do is consider location and orientation and setup and all that sort of stuff. Bees need direct sunlight to keep the pests down, but they can also not have full sunlight all day long. So I face my hives facing southeast, is the correct orientation, so they get the morning sun, and they get the morning sun until it goes right overhead, and then as it starts to sunset, there's a defilade of trees immediately behind them with a raised hill for wind block and all that sort of stuff. So after about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they are no longer receiving full sunlight, and usually that is the hottest part of the day here. You don't want to go super wooded because that increases pests like small hive beetle and cockroaches and things like that. But if you have, for instance, a pine grove, that can be a beneficial spot. You just want to find a spot that's got some open sky above it type thing to kind of, again, keep that down. There are things that you can do to mitigate pests that we can cover in a future episode. But first is location and orientation. The second thing is water source. Bees will literally carry water to their hive and spit it all over the side of it and blow their wings on it to air condition the hive. They will self-air condition their hive. There are things that you can do to help that, though. Like, for instance, if you know that it's going to be particularly oppressive, then you can take, I use old gun boxes, because they're the right shape and everything. You put it on top of your hive, and you put a rock on top of it, and basically put some shade right over the entrance. It can decrease the air that's coming into the colony that way. And the other thing that I will do is I have some fencing washers that are the right size, and you basically take that thing and insert it between your inner cover and your outer cover, and that is going to create just a tiny little crack in that propolis seal so that air can flow in. Not enough that you even have enough for like bee space to come in and out. Maybe ants could get in that way, but you're talking about the thickness of a fencing washer. Some people use coins and things like that. I think that's dumb. Fencing washers are cheap. Put that thing in there for the period of time that is required. Allow them to ventilate. One thing that you could also do if they are consuming, if you know that it's going to be particularly oppressive, is you can set up some artificial water features in the area so they don't have to fly a mile to the local pond or whatever, or swimming pool. Depending on what the water situation looks like in your immediate vicinity. So what I did a couple years ago is I had an old trashy kind of like white styrofoam cooler, right? It's one of those ones that's about like that deep. Filled it part of the way with gravel so that it goes all the way down to the corner on one side and fills up diagonally to the other corner, and filled it with water. And then as the water evaporates or the bees drink it, the water level goes down, and there's like I put a piece of wood in there that floats so they could get on that and drink and then fly it back to the hive. And we're talking a 10-foot flight instead of a mile flight. Even though the nearest water source for them is actually like 500 yards, they don't have to do that. They could use that. And I will periodically fill that up depending on my availability. Not entirely required, especially if you're doing the other stuff, but just things to think about.